Um, yeah, working it over with a hoe. Um, you see, there's like a little lovely copse of wood here, on almost an unusually thick thicket, and there's a nice long building, and then there was a big like conjoined one. You see that there is out front what looks to be a sort of normal steed house, large, dark wooden peasant's house with a thatched roof. And tacked on the back is a house of some size, eight-sided, black wood house with steeped red tile roof and raised tips allowing smoke escape. The walls rise 10 feet, and the roof a further 10 feet, and smoke trails up from it.
Like like a regular house fire, like a fireplace kind of smoke,
Yeah, like
or
something you might have at that sort of a scale. Yeah,
okay, not destruction smoke.
not given that vibe.
Fair enough. Well, this is a letter come to deliver. Let us go deliver.
All right, so
Uh, if there's a door, I knock.
you approach like I don't know if you when you come like here, it's kind of maybe more obvious. You're looking at it like a compound, right? Like there's one slender house on the east side, and there's one big ass house with all that shit I was describing on the north side.
Gotcha. Okay.
So and you see the guy who's hoeing, and he calls out and says, "There's strangers here," and some people sort of come up. You guys who've been nearby before, sort of hang to the back, and you guys are free to do as you'd like.
Wait, our guys have been here before. These
That
I
they
assume
what
yeah, we're taking
they
the
yeah the guys who are like were with the Reaver said that the Reaver met with the old woman here, but they don't know what they
yeah.
said.
Which one of
Oh,
these
this was the
houses holds
place. I
the old
see.
lady?
They say hers is the big hut in the back.
Yeah, good. We saunter towards that.
Okay, so there's like a family in here, yada yada. So as you come in, there is what are they called? Yeah, okay. Um, there is a youngish woman studying who opens the door, looks down for her book, and says, "Have you come to do business with?" And she kind of looks you over with my mother.
Probably.
We have business on someone else's account. Yes.
And she says, "Is she expecting you?"
I know
Uh,
not.
I'm not sure. I simply had a delivery.
On who? And it says, "Ah, and from whom?"
This was
Wizard, right?
from the priest guy, wasn't it?
Priest. Well, you're right. It was totally the priest.
Someone's playing wood back here. And there's chicken coop and yard with 23 chicklets running about up here. Come through the fields. You explain that you're here on behalf of a wizard on some whiz biz. Actually, no, not the
Priest on
wizard. The
some priest
priest.
biz.
Priest and some priest biz. And they say, "Oh yes, um, she'll want to see you." And hesitating a moment says, "You can go through the house."
No,
He said he described himself as a priest of the people and wore a red robe.
Memnon's colors are
Indeed.
like black and purple or blue or something, right?
Yeah.
More black, but sometimes red. But it didn't seem like necessarily objectively that. So she comes in, opens the door. When you were in this building, by the way,
I just
you see
realized we
there's
should
this.
probably should have gotten the guy's name or
There are
something to.
strong oak cabinet holds thick. Well, you have a letter. A strong oak cabinet holds thick winter cloaks, a wall rack hanging 2 spears and 4 javelins, and a thick wooden chest in one corner. And she says, "I'm Jukri, Mirnkei's daughter. Please." And she kind of like conducts you in, and you see that there is, you come in here. The two guys are kind of like, "Oh, well, yeah, outside." Three of you come inside,
Okay.
and you see inside, finally, you're in the Hus Mem, the house of the mother, built off the steed house. Its interior hosts a large smoking cauldron, a drying rack, 2 simple chests, and a rickety bookshelf. Mune K. Talkie, as she must be, is here brewing potions, and she looks up from a chat with an elf fellow, and they both look at you, and she says, "So, you've brought a letter from the Vadir in the city?"
Yes, that's right. That's what he called. They called him.
Can't help but notice, by the way, the rickety bookshelf. It holds 3 dusty tomes and 14 figurines, glossy, black, smooth figurines depicting various animals.
Oh, do they seem to be magical implements or
Not
just
ones you're
figurines?
familiar with, but you could. I mean, if you cast detect magic, you'd probably detect something on them if it was there. But do you do that?
I mean, that would be pretty obvious, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be pretty obvious.
Nah, I wouldn't do that. I'd ask. I'd point them out and be like, "Those are curious. What are those?"
He smiles and says, "Oh, my children carve them, but I give them a special something. My grandchildren. Do show me that letter, dear."
Sure. I hand it over.
Hmm. Yes. She eyes the shelf in her cauldron, folds it up, and says, tucking away the letter, "This is quite the sizable order. I won't be able to have it done too soon. Give me 4 hours, and I'll be done. If I start right away."
No objections here.
Very
By all
well, then.
means.
And,
One
uh,
more thing, if you don't mind. I have a question of my own.
yes, yes.
I have it on good authority that you conversed with some associates of my associates.
She says, "I'm sure I don't know what you mean."
Well, I'm sure you can tell that we are, gestures itself, potentially, Northmen.
I don't
There was
busy
a,
myself with the affairs of the coast.
oh yes, no, you best not worry yourself with such trivial affairs. But there was a gentleman, and I use the term loosely, clad in black, that I believe you've encountered,
She looks at the
who
elf.
had
The elf looks at you.
done some ill business to my people.
She says, "Well, that sounds very regrettable, but my house is open to all who are interested in my alchemical curatives. I'm sure wearing black isn't enough to narrow them down." And you would note that the visitor elf also seems to be wearing a lot of black, although his with silver accents.
I was merely curious as to what that individual might have procured from you.
And I'm
I mean
afraid
no
I,
ill
ke-
offense.
I'm afraid I keep that quite confidential as well, as besuits
Yeah,
men like the Vadir, who you seem to be delivering this letter on behalf of. She looks over it again and says, "Although I don't see any mention of your name in particular, how did you come to have this letter?"
Oh, we
perhaps I've
went.
spoken too much.
We
With
received
a
a letter from himself directly.
The
Why
With a kind of
would
resigned
anything?
smile, Yarla leans against the wall and starts picking at her nails.
the elf looks to Mirnke and says, "Well, I suppose I'll have to leave you to your business then." And Mirnke says, "Yes, Bandrar, if you'd be so kind as to wait for me to handle this." "Certainly." And the elf kind of just like walks by the three of you, gliding almost. Um,
Hmm.
he does stop when he sees the two sea wolves in the other room, and then keeps going. Heads out to the wood splitting shed, and she says, "I'm going to have to ask you to wait outside. This is quite delicate business," she says.
Very well.
Um, I would ask if I could stay and watch. I'm a man of learning. I'd-
So she looks you over, and she seems to consider. So you just say you're like a man of learning, right? That's your reason for getting to stay.
Well, I might say a little bit more of like I have an interest in a passing interest in various magical and alchemical arts. I, you know,
So he nods. She nods, and give me a charisma check.
sure.
Okay, you pass. She shrugs and says, "Hand me some of those herbs," she says, pointing to some dried herbs in one of the various windows. And she, upon you obliging her, throws them into the cauldron and starts to stir. And she says, "We're going to be making a few potions, dearie." She smiles.
Yeah, certainly. Uh, Happy to help.
And so she, so brews up some sort of a mucus yellow broth and starts to go on about local herbs and how you need certain things taken only from the bark of the night valda trees that only grow on the southern side. Yada yada. Seems some sort of a stamina potion in particular that he's ordered in bulk. And yeah, so while that goes on, Trogborg, Yarla, and two Nords, the woman in the main room kind of looks at you expectantly as if though expecting you to not stand in her house for 4 hours.
Yarla takes off her boots. Thank you for hosting us.
You can't help but notice that she has a small black book with her that she's been keeping very closed since she came out. Kind of clutches it a little bit closer, like adjusts her jaw and says, "Make yourself at home." And the Nords kind of look at Yarla for guidance as if though, like, are we supposed to be doing this? Or...
Do you have any seats that we might take up the table?
And so there's one large wooden bed in here and three smaller ones lining the western wall.
Oh,
But
we best not sit on
there's
beds.
not
Oh,
there's not much else in this fairly Spartan arrangement, really. She does pull out a low oak bench, however, fit perhaps for
perfect.
two additional people.
I
There are
gestured at the sea wolves to
they kind
take
of
themselves,
they
make themselves at
they
home there.
awkwardly take their seats. Drogborg, what are you doing?
I think I'll just go take a seat too. Just be like,
Well,
okay,
there's
cool.
there's only seats for two
Oh,
visitors.
I guess we're standing.
Outside, you see some
I was
wood getting
planning on
chopped by a
leaning.
peasant who's presently chatting with the elf. Um, you would note as like people come and go in the windows, there's some whittling going on the one house over, and there's approximately 6 people in there, two of whom seem to be armed up like bond striders. This woman, although she's a traditional Kirlizian woman in dress, seems to be more learned. She has a little back book that she's sort of reading on her bed. very careful to not present to you. And yeah, one of the peasants is out tending the garden, and time goes by. Do you guys just spend the next several hours in this fashion, not going outside?
Just wanted to make this as awkward as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely can. Nothing's stopping you. But if that's what happens, I'm just allowing that beat there in case anybody had something. Album, you managed
We
to
should
help
Probably
produce
check on the elf.
a mucus yellow. Okay, so you go outside and check on the elf by the guy splitting wood.
I would maybe gesture to Trogborg to do that because Yarla's being very imposing,
All right,
and that's
Trogborg.
kind of her deal.
Do you go check on an elf splitting wood? Trogborg.
Mind you, it's an elf wearing a silvery slash black cloak, and I'm getting a lot of these guys worship Memnon vibes.
Ramba? I can't hear you talking, Ramba. Ramba. Seems Trogborg does not, in fact, go outside because Ramba's presently AFK. So, time passes. There's a mucus yellow sort of broth that is turned into a yellow-white stamina potion and crushed up rabbit bone powder lined with poppy milk. And these are given to you in a significant, like a barrel, pretty much, all packed together. And she says, "Well, thank you for helping out, dearie. Tell me, I get the sense that you're something of a wizard. How did you come by your abilities?" The kindly older woman asks.
I never thought about that out of character. What? I don't know. How does wizardry work in this world?
I mean, you can just like
The
be a
setting.
nerd and study it in a book. In theory, you could also have like some innate sorceress potential, which is not uncommon for elves.
Yeah, I'd say that's the most likely explanation.
You just tell like you got a knack for it.
Yeah, pretty much.
You
I'm-
know,
I did some studying, but it was mostly just came to me.
yes. And she hangs there a moment and she says, "You know, some secrets come to us when we least expect it, and others come once they have been coaxed from the right source. Do you find yourself satisfied with your gifts?"
Oh, well, honestly, I wouldn't be here if I were satisfied.
Hmm. And she kind of looks you up and down. Give me a charisma check.
All right.
Mm.
She thinks about it and she says, "So you work with Vadir Ruga now, yes?"
Well, I wouldn't say with. This is just an odd job I've picked up.
As well, if other odd jobs bring you back here, perhaps. And she looks at books on her shelf, but then she says, "Well, no time for that. For now, I'll send you on your way. And we also send the players on their way, but not before. Album, you get a good look at the rickety bookshelf, and
Yes,
you
good.
see that there are three books. One of them is ever so slightly open, and you see a chart that looks very much like a place you've seen, as you realize it chronicles the details of the Nightvalda.
Sorry, the what?
The Nightvalda. It's the forest that you guys were in, that you got that has the evil altar and the cows.
Ah,
And
yes.
you get a strange whispering at the back of your mind as you look to the bookshelf. When you look at the animals, it's almost like you can hear. You see badgers, you can hear them making the sound. You see two boars, you can hear them crying out. One giant leech, you hear a ch-ch. One brown bear, you hear it. Oh! 2 horses, the same shit. Giant frog, a rabbit, 2 mastiffs. Woof! Well, moose. An elephant. Woof! The figurines are almost making noise at you. There's a synesthesia black coming over your vision. And it's there and gone again in a moment. And she smiles at you as you look back to her and says, perhaps you'll find power in the place you least expect it. And with that, we are going to call it. But thank you all for coming out. And yeah.
Fascinating.
Site and raid silver spook. All right. But all right. Please do join the chat for the raid, and I will be seeing you. Ramba, did you ever come back?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's all
I had to check on the refrigerator
It's
because
all
apparently
good.
there was like